Coming up on Ion KZN.
We really are focusing on strengthening relationships with a lot of these hosted buyers.
Highlights from Tourism Indaba. We meet the Emerging Tourism Entrepreneur of the Year award winner for KwaZulu-Natal.
You won't just rock up and say, I'll do an English breakfast buffet.
And check in at Hotel Investment Conference Africa. Hello and welcome to Ion KZN. My name is Spumelele Zondi. Today we're coming to you from Tourism Indaba, taking place here at the Durban International Convention Center. Now Indaba allows various players in the tourism sector to come here, showcase their goods and meet potential buyers. It also allows KZN an opportunity to showcase itself as a destination with a never-ending summer. It's the end of autumn, and as winter is about to kick in, Durban is showing off its beaches and sunshine. Some exhibitors at Tourism Indaba are taking advantage of this. But it's no fun and games inside the Durban International Convention Center, as they have to impress. One of those they must please with attractive stands that sell South Africa well is the country's tourism minister, Martinus van Schalkwyk.
Oh, I know some of those people there.
He paid some exhibitors a visit.
How are you guys? Nice to see you.
It's a rare opportunity that some of those showcasing their products at Tourism Indaba get. They can perhaps have an opportunity to tell the minister some of their grievances in the sector they have chosen for a living. Indaba is probably the best chance for tour operators, buyers and sellers in the industry to meet, decide what they like, seal deals and plan to meet again in future. The aim for those in charge here is to grow the event and increase participation.
We truly want to become Indaba the premier African tourism exhibition. And that can only happen if those who come to Indaba live with better experiences. They come here, both the exhibitors and the buyers, and therefore you can see that the ratio of the buyers is in fact 3-to-1, which means on year, you are increasing the numbers of buyers who are coming into Indaba, which means more business for those who are exhibiting at Indaba.
Organizers understand they are in an international competition, and that's why they need to have an edge over others. They say the plan for this is to be Africa's premier tourism exhibition. All the signs are there that Indaba is well on its way to achieving this. They just want those showcasing here to know who the market they're targeting is in order to package their products properly. South African Tourism says they are working on this for various products offered by the country.
We just have too much to offer. And in a sense, you get lost in the various things that you may want to communicate. The good news, though, is the fact that we do consumer insights in every market where we go to. That gives us some pinpointed mechanism to say exactly how do we talk to the Chinese? What are they looking for when they come to South Africa? When we are in Brazil, what are we talking about?
During Indaba, it's difficult to find hotel accommodation in Durban. Car rental companies would also struggle to cope with the number of increased bookings they have. But the challenge is in what happens once all those in the city for this one event have packed their bags and returned home. It's a challenge KwaZulu-Natal Tourism is aware of.
The importance of Indaba extends far beyond the 4 days. I think sometimes, particularly as a host, you can get into this temptation of focusing a lot on the logistics for putting together the event, but then forgetting that actually at the end of the day, Indaba is about the long-term sustainability of tourism into the province.
KwaZulu-Natal is of course hoping that people would stay longer to spend their money and wishing that some would return home to report back on their experience of the city, beach and bush.
We also are hoping that there will be a much more bigger contribution of the tourism Indaba to the KZN economy, to the Durban economy.
With continued growth of this exhibition, it's almost a given that organizers will encounter new problems. What's important is whether they are ready for them and how they react when they arise, in order for the story that goes out to the rest of the world is the one that can attract more potential buyers and partners that can increase tourism in Africa. A buyer doesn't only find out about safari and the continent's natural beauty. A buyer at Indaba can also find out about the township experience, to culture and beverages such as wine from regions that are new at producing it. Durban is not the only South African city that can showcase what it has at Tourism Indaba. The exhibition is probably the only place in KwaZulu-Natal where one would find a piece of Soweto. This comes in the form of So We Too, an umbrella body that represents various businesses in the Gauteng township.
If you want to do anything in Soweto, here's 7 guys coming together under one umbrella who are young, youthful as well, entrepreneurs offering a Soweto sushi, quad biking in Soweto, bird watching in Soweto, and a 4-star hotel in Soweto, and a 5-star travel luxury shuttle tours in Soweto.
When one gets thirsty here, they can even pour themselves a glass of wine as they learn more about vineyards of the Northern Cape province, a region relatively unknown in winemaking.
We come out here and showcase our wines because of fantastic range we have, to showcase to the people and get them to taste and talk about us so they can incorporate into their tourism trips up to the Kalahari.
A theme that came through from various exhibitors is that business tourists should broaden their experience of South Africa.
The tourists want to be in a destination where they can travel safe, in a reliable, easy. They don't need to be driving and trying to hire a car. So Tshwane transport system we're showcasing now because we finished the station in Hartfield, and we're saying tourists can actually come from the airport, get into the Gautrain, get onto the BRT system and be able to experience the city, go to Church Square, walk around the city, get back onto the bus, get onto the Gautrain and go back home.
Our convention bureau will mostly be looking at the meetings and corporate conferences, bringing those meetings into the Northern Cape. We have actually created and built a 2,500-seater international convention center in Kimberley. It is now operational.
When people go to Sandton, they want to see Sandton. And when people go to a township, they want to see what a township can offer. They do not want to see another Sandton. And that is what we would want to showcase. All that we need to do is that the service must be excellent, it must be reliable, people must trust it.
The KwaZulu-Natal government says it's important for the province to be a good host, as those that came just for the conference would return for a similar treatment in future.
Well, first and foremost, we want them to live in Indaba with wonderful experiences. We are a wonderful and hospitable destination KZN, destination Durban. And for us, it means one thing, that if we can grow Indaba, as we are growing to become one of the 4th biggest premier tourism exhibitions in the world, it will only leave Indaba with a bigger legacy going forward.
We really are focusing on strengthening relationships with a lot of these hosted buyers because they're actually very important, because at the end of the day, between the destination and the consumer sits the buyer, and usually the consumer would go to the buyer in Kisos market, because remember we're here in South Africa and our consumers or our customers are actually seated on the other side. So they play a very important role, and therefore the main focus now is working with the channel, making sure that they sell us the way we would like to be sold, and they also become part of the process of growing our tourism. And obviously you know that these people are faced with a very wide choice, because this weekend they are here, next week they are in Germany, the other week, and all of the people are asking them to do the same thing. So that's actually very important, that we strengthen these relationships so that we get prioritized.
Those with stands at this year's Tourism Indaba stress the exhibition's importance.
Number one, it creates a bigger awareness about who we are, because when you're dealing with international buyers or international tour operators, they want to be able to Google you, and they want to be able to say, this person is being spoken about, this person is relevant. And the only way to be relevant is by playing in the same spaces that they play in.
Cities like us, people don't know. If we're not out there, they're not going to know what we're all about. So it's very important. Like I'm talking about this integrated transport system. How else are the tour operators going to know if we don't actually show them? So we see an interest after such shows as Indaba.
KwaZulu-Natal Tourism CEO Ndaba Khoza says meetings held during this year's Tourism Indaba have been relatively successful. He says during the last few years, there have been groans and moans from some of the buyers, especially those from Europe, because of economic problems there. There have been less of these moans this year, which Khoza says is a good sign of possible partnerships and investments into the tourism sectors of KwaZulu-Natal and the rest of the country. And many more tourists in foreign lands would probably visit for a taste of what the Zulu kingdom has. Tourism Indaba also allows businesses from across Africa to showcase their products, as the SADC marquee is no longer just for Southern African countries, as Kenya and Tanzania from East Africa are here too. Malawi, Namibia, Mauritius and Madagascar are just some of the countries showcasing at Tourism Indaba in 2013. But South Africa is now extending a hand to other countries not part of the Southern African Development Community. Exhibiting at Tourism Indaba is an opportunity Kenya says is really important for any country on the continent.
We believe it's really at the top of the range, it's number one, and everybody comes here to make contacts, everybody comes here to establish linkages with other destinations, and that's why it's important for Kenya to be here. With tourism being one of the top foreign exchange earners for Kenya, we cannot afford to miss Indaba.
The story Kenya is telling at Indaba includes the construction of infrastructure. The country says this will make it easier for investors to do business there.
The roads, the buildings, the components included in resort cities is just massive. Universities, hospitals, and all kinds of things.
The country says apart from searching for investment, it is still looking for tourists to explore more than just safari.
We have a 400-kilometer beach and enjoy the wonderful weather along the beach. And you can go to the mountain, Mount Kenya, and be in snow-like conditions. And you can also choose to go to the deserts in the northern eastern parts of Kenya and go on a camel ride. So there's so many products that we have in Kenya.
Also at this year's Indaba has been Zimbabwe. The Southern African country's economy has suffered in recent years. Tourists were also not visiting Zimbabwe as much because of political instability there. But at its stand, Zimbabwe has been saying it is ready to receive more tourists again.
We would like to increase our tourist receipts, and when the receipts increase, it culminates to more revenue coming to our country.
And the country says it has what it calls 7 wonders of Zimbabwe. They include some of its usual tourist attractions.
We have the Great Zimbabwe, we have what we call the Victoria Falls, we have the Kariba and the mighty Zambezi River, we have our pristine wildlife and culture, we have the mystique of the Eastern Highlands.
On the sidelines, Durban also hosted a delegation of tour operators from Nigeria, not yet with a stand at Tourism Indaba. The delegation's interest shows a sign that they may want to exhibit here too in future, growing Indaba to an even bigger show. After the break, we'll meet a woman who grew up in poverty and turned the little money she received as a gift for completing high school into a fast-growing transport business catering to local and international tourists.